nations, this is a show you cannot miss. Watch this space to know more about all matters and all people that make Britain what it is today. Out of Britain, with me, Radhika Iyer.
In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions, and the stories of our diaspora. We cover the news that shapes our global future. NDTV World, your new home for global news, is here.
You are watching The World 24/7 on the NDTV network. I'm Parmeshwar Bapa. Let's begin with the top stories you need to know. US President Donald Trump has defended the Department of Government Efficiency's decision to cancel a $21 million fund designated for voter turnout in India, saying that India did not need such financial support. US and Russian officials held more than 4 hours of talks in Riyadh on Tuesday, their first on ending the war in Ukraine, as Kyiv and its European allies watched anxiously from the sidelines and Moscow raised a major new demand. We also get you the lowdown on the Trump-Musk joint interview with Fox's Sean Hannity. India and Qatar have agreed to elevate ties to a strategic partnership, and an agreement in this regard was exchanged between our two nations. Qatar has committed to investing $10 billion in India across various sectors. Pope Francis has been diagnosed with double pneumonia after further tests showed a continuing complex medical situation. European and other world leaders plan to hold a second emergency summit in Paris today as pressure grows to forge a cohesive response to Donald Trump's divisive plan to end the war in Ukraine. Well, a big focus, US President Donald Trump has defended the Department of Government Efficiency's decision to cancel a $21 million fund designated for voter turnout in India, saying that India, with its growing economy and high taxation rates, did not need such financial support. He said this while signing executive orders at his Mar-a-Lago estate. Donald Trump, in fact, questioned why the United States was actually giving $21 million to India, further adding that India is one of the highest taxing countries in the world, and that the US can hardly get in here because our tariffs are so high. Now, as you know, this move had actually triggered a massive controversy here in India, with the ruling BJP criticizing the opposition Congress. But just listen in to what the US president had to say regarding this matter.
Well, why are we giving $21 million to India? They got a lot of money. They're one of the highest taxing countries in the world in terms of us. We can hardly get in there because their tariffs are so high. I have a lot of respect for India. I have a lot of respect for the Prime Minister. He just left, as you know, 2 days ago. But we're giving $21 million for voter turnout. It's voter turnout in India. What about, like, voter turnout here? Oh, we've done that, I guess. We did $500 million, didn't we? It's called the lockboxes.
Meanwhile, Donald Trump and what many call his billionaire sidekick Elon Musk accused the liberal media of trying to divide them to thwart their shared political agenda. In fact, in their first joint TV interview, the first buddies insisted nothing can come between them and that the efforts to drive them to political splitsville were doomed to failure. Tesla CEO Elon Musk, along with the US president, explained what he called the left's Trump derangement syndrome and said that he didn't realize it was a real thing until he was at a friend's dinner party before the presidential election. But just listen in to a snippet of their interview.
You have the biggest electric vehicle company in the world.
Yeah, I mean, I used to be adored by the left, you know.
Yeah, not anymore.
Less so these days.
He killed that, huh?
I mean, less so.
I really didn't know.
Well, I mean, this whole sort of like, you know, they call it like Trump derangement syndrome. And I didn't, you know, you don't realize how real this is until like you can't reason with people. So like I was at a friend's birthday party in LA, just a birthday dinner. And it was like a nice, quiet dinner, and everyone was behaving normally. And I happened to mention, this is before the election, like a month or two before, I happened to mention the president's name. And it was like they got shot with a dart in the jugular that contained like methamphetamine and rabies, okay? And they're like, wow! And I'm like, what is wrong?
Well, the US president and Elon Musk have accused the liberal media of trying to actually divide them, thwart their shared political agenda. And this was their first joint TV interview with Fox's Sean Hannity. The first buddies have insisted nothing can come between them and that the efforts to drive them to political splitsville were doomed to failure. Listen in to another snippet we have lined up for you.
I think you've proven they have no power anymore because they threw everything they had at you and they didn't win. And that was, you know, the New York Times, Washington Post, 3 networks, every late night comedy show, 2 cable channels. They just threw everything, lawfare, weaponization.
True.
And now I see they want you two to start, they want a divorce. They want you two to start hating each other. And they try, President Elon Musk, for example. You do know that they're doing that to you.
Oh, I see it all the time. They tried it, then they stopped. That wasn't. They have many different things of hatred. Actually, Elon called me. He said, you know, they're trying to drive us apart. I said, absolutely. No, they said, we have breaking news. Donald Trump has ceded control of the presidency to Elon Musk. President Musk will be attending a cabinet meeting tonight at 8 o'clock. And I say, it's just so obvious. They're so bad at it. I used to think they were good at it. They're actually bad at it, because if they were good at it, I'd never be president. Because I think nobody in history has ever gotten more bad publicity than me. I could do the greatest things. I get 98% bad publicity. I could do, outside of you and a few of your very good friends, it's like the craziest thing.
In other crucial news, US President Donald Trump mocked the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky as a poor negotiator and grossly incompetent. He said this as tensions continue to rise over the administration's direct talks with Russia about ending the war it launched nearly 3 years ago. But Donald Trump suggested that Ukraine was responsible for Russia's invasion of the country 3 years ago, arguing Kyiv could have made a deal to avoid the war. Trump did not mention that Russia has also failed to end the war it began when it invaded its neighbor. But the comments come amid criticism from European allies and many American intelligence experts that Ukraine and European nations invested in Ukraine's defense had been excluded from negotiations that began early on Tuesday between US and Russian officials in Saudi Arabia. Listen in to what the US president had to say. We have remarks from Zelensky lined up for you and the finer details as well.
And I think I have the power to end this war. And I think it's going very well. But today I heard, we weren't invited. Well, you've been there for 3 years. You should have ended it 3 years. You should have never started it. You could have made a deal. I could have made a deal for Ukraine that would have given them almost all of the land, everything, almost all of the land, and no people would have been killed, and no city would have been demolished, and not one dome would have been knocked down. But they chose not to do it that way. And President Biden, in all fairness, he doesn't have a clue. What he was so bad for this. He was so bad, so pathetic. It's so sad.
Я переконаний, для України, для нашого регіону і для Європи принципово, щоб будь-які перемовини щодо закінчення війни відбувались не за спиною у ключових суб'єктів, яких зачіпають наслідки російської агресії.
Less than a month after Donald Trump took office and just 6 days after his call with Russian President Putin, Top US and Russian officials wrapped up over 4 hours of talks in Riyadh on the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. The talks came as Kyiv and its European allies were sidelined and as Moscow introduced a significant new demand. The high-level talks, which were attended by U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, aimed at strengthening ties and finding a resolution to the almost 3-year-long war. Rubio said that both parties agreed to restaff their respective embassies in Washington and Moscow and appoint high-level teams to continue negotiations. He also called the meeting the first step of a long and difficult journey, further adding that in order to bring an end to any conflict, there has to be concessions made by all sides.
For us to be able to continue to move down this road, we need to have diplomatic facilities that are operating and functioning normally. The second point is that we're going to appoint a high-level team from our end to help negotiate and work through the end of the conflict in Ukraine in a way that's enduring and acceptable to all the parties engaged.
Meanwhile, Lavrov called the talks very useful, adding that the two sides did not just listen, but heard each other.
Разговор был, я считаю, очень полезный. Мы не просто слушали, но и слышали друг друга. И у меня есть основания полагать, что американская сторона стала лучше понимать нашу позицию, которую мы на основе многократных выступлений президента Путина подробно на конкретных примерах изложили в очередной раз.
The talks came just as Russia announced a major new demand for NATO to scrap its 2008 promise to one day give Ukraine membership and for Kyiv to agree to neutrality. However, the Kremlin also said that Ukraine has a sovereign right to join the European Union, but that this sovereignty does not apply to military alliances. Conditions were discussed for a potential Trump-Putin meet, but no date has been set yet. Ukraine's absence from the negotiating table has sparked concerns in Kyiv and among European allies. Ukrainian President Zelensky has said that any outcomes from talks without Kyiv's involvement would be unacceptable. Samia Afsar, NDTV World.
Well, asserting that the initial round of talks had gone very well, Trump bristled at Zelensky's frustration over being excluded and at the Ukrainian president's decision not to fly to Riyadh for additional talks with the US delegation this week. In fact, I must inform you that Trump also confirmed his interest in forcing elections in Ukraine as part of any diplomatic resolution to the war. Jessica Stone has more on this for us.
U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio met with Sergei Lavrov, the Russian foreign minister, for several hours in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia on Tuesday. This is the most extensive contact between the two countries in 3 years' time. And afterwards, Rubio releasing a statement that says in part that Washington and Moscow are working towards, number one, closer cooperation and a restoration of their embassy staffs in their respective capitals, and number two, to create a high-level team to negotiate an end to the Ukraine war. In an interview that he gave to the Associated Press, he says that ending the conflict will require concessions from all sides, and he does see a role for Europe to play. He also said in that interview that this is the beginning of a conversation. It is also a conversation that needs to continue. Other U.S. officials, meantime, have said that NATO membership is really a long reach for the Ukraine to expect. It's unrealistic, and that the hope of completely returning all of the territory that Russia has gained is also unrealistic. They say that discussion of territory and security guarantees, though, will be a part of these ongoing talks. Now, Ukraine was not even present for these talks. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says that he will not accept any outcome because he was not a part of these talks, and he wants, quote, robust and reliable security guarantees. He further canceled his meeting to Riyadh to meet with Keith Kellogg, the U.S. envoy to Ukraine. Europe also concerned about all of this taking place. On Monday, they held an emergency meeting in Paris where there was no agreement yet on deploying peacekeepers to Ukraine as part of any security deal. Jessica Stone, VOA News, Washington.
You must note that Russian state media, by the way, is covering this as their country's return to the top table of international politics. And as far as Moscow's state-directed media commentators were concerned, they saw it as a big win for the Russian president. And to Russian state media's evident delight, the sidelining of the Europeans and Ukrainian President Zelensky, they indicate, has firmly put them in their place. In fact, their exclusion is being played as a big humbling of Europe and a humiliation for the Ukrainian leader. Meanwhile, European and other world leaders plan to hold a second emergency summit in Paris today as pressure grows to forge a cohesive response to Donald Trump's divisive plan to end the war in Ukraine. France has planned to host the second meeting to discuss Ukraine and European security today, but has this time invited European countries not present earlier this week, as well as NATO ally Canada, as per reports. Now, those invited, as per reports, are Norway, Canada, Lithuania, Estonia, Latvia. Also invited, the Czech Republic, Greece, Finland, Romania, Sweden, and Belgium. Further adding that the format would actually be hybrid, including video participation for this summit that's being held in Paris. Switching tracks now, Qatar and India have agreed to elevate their ties to a strategic partnership, and an agreement in this regard was exchanged between our two nations. Now, this decision was announced after a meeting between our Prime Minister and the Emir of Qatar, Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, in New Delhi. The focus of the meeting, the Ministry of External Affairs has informed us, was on enhancing trade, investment, technology, energy, food security, culture, as well as enhancing people-to-people ties. Our two sides also discussed the potential of a free trade agreement and also planned on doubling trade to $28 billion. This is within the next 5 years.
We invite India's investors and entrepreneurs to explore the full potential of Qatar's economy in infrastructure, technology, and beyond. And we are ready to take decisive steps to fast-track negotiations for a new bilateral investment promotion and protection agreement. Moreover, we seek to revitalize the Trade, Economic, and Technical Joint Commission, ensuring that our economic ties are not just maintained, but strengthened with clear direction, real action, and measurable results.
And in other news, Pope Francis has been diagnosed with double pneumonia after further tests showed a continuing complex medical situation. This is what the Vatican has confirmed in its latest statement. The pontiff, who's 88 years old, underwent a chest X-ray which demonstrated the onset of bilateral pneumonia that required further pharmacological therapy. But Pope Francis had been hospitalized in Rome. This is since the 14th of February after battling a respiratory infection for over a week. Let's switch tracks now. I must inform you that Hamas says it will hand over the bodies of 4 hostages on Thursday, including the 2 youngest people held by the Palestinian armed group. In exchange, Israel will free all women and those under the age of 19 arrested since last October, and is allowing some rubble-clearing equipment into Gaza. This is through the border with Egypt. My colleague Mohammed Ghazali, as always, has been tracking the finer details for us. He joins us live at the moment. Ghazali, take us through the latest developments.
See, Hamas has agreed to release 6 more hostages, and that also includes 6 live hostages. There are 4 bodies which are being told that Hamas will return. There are also bodies of people who have been in captivity for over a decade. 2 hostages who were held in Gaza for a decade will also be released. So that certainly shows that the kind of ceasefire negotiations which have been going on in the background by Qatar, by Egypt, and despite the US and Israeli pressure, things seem to be working out in a positive direction, that Hamas has not created any kind of bottleneck before releasing these hostages. And this is also going to be the 6th or 7th week where Hamas will be releasing these hostages on Saturday. And perhaps after that, because Mr. Netanyahu, Mr. Trump, and other negotiators are also engaged in now initiating the second stage of the ceasefire, which also involves that how Israel will completely pull out of Gaza, and then the next stage of reconstruction of Gaza will be discussed. So this release of 6 hostages will certainly pave the way for more peace and security in the region, is what analysts believe in the Middle East.
As always, Ghazali, thanks so much for joining us with the lowdown. News and updates continue in a moment, right after this very short break. Do stay tuned.
From interesting tech startups to industry-leading companies, politics, sports, culture, curry, cricket. Oh, there's so much to talk about. Like me, if you too thrive on interesting conversations, this is a show you cannot miss. Watch this space to know more about all matters and all people that make Britain what it is today. Out of Britain, with me, Radhika Iyer.
Another huge theme in the book, of course, is friendships, various friendships. But let's start out early. Your closest friend was Kent. And you associated with him, you got on very well with him, you found him to be similar with, in many ways with you. You went on long cruises with him. And then you lost him. And you write, I had retreated into myself, watching a slideshow in my mind's eye, taking through images of recent days, grasping for evidence that what I had heard wasn't true. He died tragically. Could you tell us a little bit about the loss you felt?
Yeah, my childhood really only had this one traumatic event in it. I'd had grandparents die, but at a pretty old age, and I'd never even contemplated the idea that somebody close to me, not to mention my very best friend, would just be killed. He had signed up for this mountain climbing class that both he and I and his parents thought was a little unusual because that wasn't what he was good at, but he was, once he decided to do something, put huge energy into it. And it was just so shocking. The headmaster called me up, made sure my parents were with me. But I had a few months there where I was just so taken aback that life could have that uncertainty. Who else would die or disappear? And he, was kind of a wonderful kid who I owe a lot to, because the idea of thinking about what career we would engage in, did ambassadors make good money? Did generals?
Welcome back. Well, Donald Trump is considering imposing 25% tariffs on key imports like automobiles, semiconductors, and pharmaceuticals. The new duties could be announced as soon as the 2nd of April, as per a Bloomberg report, and are expected to widen the ongoing trade war affecting consumer products. Now, as you know, Donald Trump previously introduced 25% tariffs on steel and aluminium, which are set to take effect in March. And his latest proposal marks the most detailed outline yet of sectors facing fresh trade barriers. This also reflects on a significant shift in the United States trade policy that could impact global markets. Let's take you to the United Kingdom now. Well, as UK-India trade talks resume this month in New Delhi, NDTV had a chance to catch up with the Lord Mayor of London, Alistair King. Just last year, in fact, the UK's trading relationship with India was worth £42 billion and supported over 6 lakh jobs across both our countries. Now, Alistair King says he looks forward to further collaboration between our two nations. Listen in to what he told NDTV.
Hello everyone, welcome to the special interview session. I have a special guest with me, Lord Mayor of London, Alistair King. In fact, he is in Mumbai to strengthen Indo-UK relationship, and he will also tell us how he plans to sort of collaborate with us even better in the years to come. Thank you, Mr. King, Lord Mayor of London, for joining us on this important discussion. Let me start by asking you how your trip to Mumbai has been. This is not your first trip to Mumbai. You've worked here before for several years. You have been meeting thought leaders, financial industries, several from business sector as well. Take us through your meetings here and what your key takeaways from these meetings have been.
Well, first of all, it's lovely to be back in Mumbai. It's a city that I really like, and marvellous electricity and energy to it, which is so fabulous to be back. The Lord Mayor of London is a remarkable role. The Lord Mayor is the global ambassador for the United Kingdom's financial, professional, legal and maritime services. Represent 2.4 million people in the United Kingdom, which is 1 in 13 of the workforce, and responsible for about 14% of GDP. So it's a very substantial it's a sector of the UK economy. I've had a remarkable few days here in Mumbai. I've been meeting business leaders, of the very top business leaders. I've been meeting the head of the stock exchange, of SEBI, of the Reserve Bank of India. And I think really my job has been to try and talk about where are the opportunities that are for British businesses trying to do business here, more business here in India, and also where are the opportunities for Indian businesses to invest into the United Kingdom.
All right. Also, the UK-India trading relationship is valued at £41 billion annually, approximately. So in light of recent global, trade tensions, how do you sort of envision the partnership between India and UK sort of evolving? And what are the strategies to sort of mitigate some of the challenges as well? What are some of the strategies to enhance financial cooperation and collaboration between the two countries?
I think there are enormous opportunities to grow the relationship, financial relationship between India and the United Kingdom. We have remarkably sort of strong links between the two countries. We've also have some great examples of investment both ways, from India into the United Kingdom and also United Kingdom into India. We've got some very famous companies doing that, and many examples of that. But I think we certainly, from the United Kingdom point of view, we've been a little bit less adventurous in relation to going to remarkable developing and sort of high growth markets such as India. And I think part of my role is to encourage British businesses to go and look at the extraordinary opportunity here in India, growing at 6.5%, and just saying, here are the opportunities, go and take them.
And I'd like to know more about your Growth Unleashed mayoral theme. What does it entail? I mean, it's obviously about mutual investment. So what initiatives are being introduced for perhaps UK businesses to invest in India? How are you planning to encourage more UK businesses to invest in India, and vice versa, for Indian businesses to sort of see UK as a market? So take us through this entire initiative, which is Growth Unleashed.
The premise is the fact that financial and professional services, legal services and maritime services, that's where the growth is going to come from in the United Kingdom in the early years of this new government. Because the building's already built, the people are already trained, the regulatory system is not perfect, but it's world class. The missing ingredient is confidence, and so I'm trying to instill confidence into British businesses to go off to remarkable dynamic markets such as India. So what measures can I do to install more confidence? It's by leading by example, to go and see some of the remarkable business people here in India and try and work out new ways of doing business together. And I think also seeing those businesses talking about the foreign direct investment opportunities into the United Kingdom. So it's a two-way process.
Now, the Champions Trophy 2025 season will kick off with Pakistan facing New Zealand in Karachi this afternoon. Meanwhile, Team India preps are in full swing to face Bangladesh. Thank you for investing your time and watching this edition of The World 24/7. As always, news and updates continue.
From interesting tech startups to industry-leading companies, politics, sports, culture, curry, cricket. Oh, there's so much to talk about. Like me, if you too thrive on interesting conversations, this is a show you cannot miss. Watch this space to know more about all matters and all people that make Britain what it is today. Out of Britain, with me, Radhika Iyer.
In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions, and the stories of our diaspora. We cover the news that shapes our global future. NDTV World, your new home for global news, is here.
Another huge theme in the book, of course, is friendships, various friendships. But let's start out early. Your closest friend was Kent. And you associated with him, you got on very well with him, you found him to be similar with, in many ways with you. You went on long cruises with him. And then you lost him. And you write, I had retreated into myself, watching a slideshow in my mind's eye, taking through images of recent days, grasping for evidence that what I had heard wasn't true. He died tragically. Could you tell us a little bit about the loss you felt?
Yeah, my childhood really only had this one traumatic event in it. I'd had grandparents die, but at a pretty old age, and I'd never even contemplated the idea that somebody close to me, not to mention my very best friend, would just be killed. He had signed up for this mountain climbing class that both he and I and his parents thought was a little unusual because
This is NDTV, and you're watching NDTV 24/7.
Hello and good morning. Welcome to Breakfast Show. I'm Radhika Ramaswamy joining you from Mumbai studios. We also have Divya joining us from Delhi. Divya, suspense over Chief Minister's name in Delhi, perhaps to end today as BJP Legislative Party meeting to be held. And in a significant ruling and a very consumer-centric development, a consumer court asking PVR Inox to pay 1 lakh to a consumer over excessive ads. So we have tons of interesting stories lined up for the next hour.
That's right, Radhika, lots coming up, including that name of the Chief Minister, like you mentioned. But we'll have to wait it out because that meeting is only coming about later in the evening at 6:30. And of course, this also comes at a time when there is controversy when we talk about the CEC. So there is going to be that Supreme Court hearing that's coming up regarding the appointment of Gyanesh Kumar. That and a whole lot more. Let's get you the headlines. And it is the day of the announcement when it comes to who really is going to be taking charge of Delhi. It's been 11 days and counting. One really doesn't know who's going to be the next Chief Minister. That legislative party meeting will take place today, and right after that, we expect that announcement to be made.
And amid CEC controversy, which is the Chief Election Commissioner controversy, Supreme Court to hear plea on the appointment. Gyanesh Kumar was appointed as the next CEC amid resistance from the main opposition, which is the Congress party.
In the University of Odisha, the student who died by suicide, there were protests that were held out. Post that, there were arrests that were made. 5 people were arrested from the university, but all 5 accused have now been granted bail.
And in a significant consumer-centric move, a consumer court asking PVR and Inox to pay 1 lakh fine to a man over excessive ads.
ICC Champions Trophy starts today at 2:30 this afternoon. It will be Pakistan that will be facing off with New Zealand, and the match will be held in Pakistan.
US and Russian officials held more than 4 hours of talks in Riyadh on Tuesday, their first on ending the war in Ukraine, as Kyiv and its European allies watched anxiously from the sidelines, and Moscow raised a major new demand. First up, nearly 2 weeks after BJP secured victory in the Delhi Assembly elections, CM's name, Divya, is yet to be announced. Of course, this name, the suspense has been going on for quite some time now. Newly elected BJP MLAs in Delhi will finally meet today to elect the legislative party leader, who is going to take oath as the Chief Minister on Feb 20. So perhaps the suspense is ending today.
Absolutely, all eyes on that crucial meeting that's coming up at 6:30 this evening. And of course, the newly appointed Delhi Chief Minister and the Council of Ministers, like you mentioned, will be sworn in tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock at the Ramlila Maidan here in the national capital. It is going to be a very grand affair. Do remember that the BJP is coming back into power as far as the national capital is concerned after 27 years. So there will be, of course, a grand ceremony that's underway. A meeting took place yesterday in order to talk about, in order to discuss the preparations that are underway. Let's just go across to our colleagues. We have Tanushka joining us from the BJP office. We have Aishwarya joining us from the BJP headquarters. Tanushka, take us, in terms of the kind of preparations that are underway, and also, narrow it down for us as to which are the names that are doing the rounds, because that announcement is only going to come about much later in the evening.
Right, Divya and Radhika. So, in keeping with this tradition, the BJP has not announced any CM face or name yet, and today is the day for that. The decision will be taken on who is to be the CM of Delhi. This evening, there will be a legislative party meeting at around 6 in the evening, which is when, this decision will be made by the BJP top leaders in the high command of the BJP. And this meeting will take place after, marathon meetings that have been happening in the past couple of days. Even yesterday we saw there were 2 back-to-back meetings to discuss the arrangements with respect to the oath-taking ceremony, which is to happen tomorrow at the Ramlila grounds at around 11 in the morning. We do understand that a lot of, different people from different walks of life and sectors and fields have been invited to this oath-taking ceremony. 50 people from the film industry have been invited. Spiritual leaders and religious leaders have also been invited. Diplomats, industrialists have also been invited to this. There are more than 240 star campaigners and members of parliament who will also be taking part in this oath-taking ceremony. The Council of Ministers for the Delhi government will also be decided in this legislative party meeting this evening. And what we also know about the grand, arrangements and preparations that have been made for the oath-taking ceremony is that there will be cultural programs as well. Singer Kailash Kher is also expected to perform. We also understand that the chief ministers of NDA-ruled states and deputy CMs also will be present at this event tomorrow. So big event, looking forward for the national capital tomorrow. And of course, the main suspense behind who is going to be the CM is going to come to an end today, this evening.
All right. Thank you, Tanushka, for getting us those details. Tanushka there getting us updates on the preparations as far as the oath-taking is concerned, which is to happen tomorrow. We also have Aishwarya who's joining us from BJP headquarters. Aishwarya, of course, grand oath-taking ceremony to happen tomorrow, but several names doing the rounds. Meeting today will finally decide on the Chief Minister's name and face. What is the sense you're getting on who will take up the top post? There are many names doing the rounds.
Well, certainly, and Bharatiya Janata Party is known to throw surprises. In the past, we have seen in Madhya Pradesh, in Rajasthan, in Chhattisgarh, Odisha, it is the Bharatiya Janata Party who had thrown surprises, and such a name that nobody knows had emerged as the Chief Minister, and certainly in Delhi is something what we are expecting too. But a few names had been shortlisted by the BJP High Command is what the sources had indicated to us. Of course, Parvesh Verma, the top contender who defeated Arvind Kejriwal and has a high popularity in the national capital as well, being a former MP, is one of the names that is doing the round. Ashish Sood, Vijender Gupta, Rekha Gupta, Shikha Roy. These are a few important names who had been in the Delhi politics for a while from now, and therefore the reason perhaps amongst these 5 to 6 top contenders, the chief minister will be decided. But Bharatiya Janata Party have a tough task being in a government, because this time it would be a double-engine sarkar in the national capital. And the promises that Bharatiya Janata Party have done, they need to fulfill it, because it is, of course, the elections in West Bengal, which are also coming in, a big fort that Bharatiya Janata Party want to win. It is Bharatiya Janata Party and NDA-led governments already in 20 states now, with 14 Bharatiya Janata Party ruling on their own. And this time in Delhi, when it would be a grand affair tomorrow, which we will see as far as oath-taking ceremony is concerned, Bharatiya Janata Party is not letting any stone unturned as far as the preparations are concerned. Ramlila Maidan is decked up, and the preparations are already underway over there as well. Senior leaders have visited the spot yesterday. The meetings took place at the state headquarters. Virendra Sachdeva, who is the Bharatiya Janata Party state unit president, along with Tarun Chugh and other senior leaders, went and saw the arrangement. 50,000 plus people had been invited. Juggis, the invitations have been sent out to the Juggis who voted in favor of the Bharatiya Janata Party. Remember, this time it was all the caste in Delhi, the caste combination that the Bharatiya Janata Party was looking forward to, had voted in favor of the BJP as well. So amongst them as well, the invitations had been sent out. Chief ministers, deputy chief ministers from NDA ruled state, these MPs from the Bharatiya Janata Party and NDA will also be invited, and of course the union ministers. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is looking very closely as far as the preparations are concerned. The High Command is in direct touch with the state unit, and all eyes would be in today's evening meeting, which will start at around 6:30 or 7 at the state headquarters, the BJP legislative meeting, which will finally put a end to the entire suspense that has been created over the name of the next chief minister of Delhi.
Thank you so much, Aishwarya, for highlighting for us the names that are doing the rounds, and of course, Tanushka, also we will keep coming back to you in terms of that legislative meeting, the very crucial meeting coming up, and 5,000 security personnel also who have been deployed, Radhika, in order to secure the area, the Ramlila ground, and of course that ceremony that's going to take place hours from now. We're talking about 11 o'clock in the morning, so less than 24 hours to go before Delhi gets its new chief minister. Moving on now to more news, and this is in regard to the Supreme Court that's agreed to consider an expedited hearing of a clutch of petitions challenging the validity of the new law providing for the appointment as far as the CEC and the election commissioners are concerned. This is a day after Gyanesh Kumar was appointed as the next CEC amid resistance from the opposition, Radhika.
That's right. The manner of appointment of a chief election commissioner and election commissioners has been controversial, with government going ahead with process laid down its December 2023 law, which is under challenge before the Supreme Court. Divya.
Now, Congress MP Rahul Gandhi, of course, slamming that decision to appoint Gyanesh Kumar as the next chief election commissioner. Of course, Radhika, that is something that he has really been crusading about. He did bring up the issue time and again, and of course, what really needs to be we're going to be waiting to see what really happens in court today.
Absolutely. In fact, Rahul Gandhi, they're calling this nomination a violation of the Supreme Court order by removing the Chief Justice of India from the selection committee. Let's go straight across to Sunil Prabhu. Sunil, key hearing today over appointment of Chief Election Commissioner. Take us through the concerns that have been raised in a batch of petitions and what can be expected today.
Well, yesterday it was mentioned by Mr. Prashant Bhushan on behalf of the Association for Democratic Reforms, which says that this has a huge bearing and it's an important aspect. He wanted it to be listed immediately. Justice Kant, who was hearing the matter yesterday, said that there has been no stay, and definitely you mention it after urgent hearing tomorrow, and we will consider and see. It's under item number 41, but be that as it may, I think everybody understands that there is an urgency for the Supreme Court to finally take a call on this important matter after a 5-judge bench had unanimously decided that the appointment of election commissioners and the chief election commissioner will have to be done through an independent process, a selection committee of the Prime Minister, the Chief Justice of India, and the Leader of Opposition. That was subsequently changed with the Supreme Court giving that Parliament the power to make up law. The government, in its wisdom, changed the Chief Justice of India to a cabinet minister to have the executive have a complete control over the appointment and an advantage over the entire process. And it's in that backdrop that they're challenging and questioning this whole, the fact that they have removed the Chief Justice of India from that panel. It is something that the Supreme Court will have to take a final call on, whether it is ultra vires or not. And we'll have to wait and see what happens in the Supreme Court today.
All right, all eyes on Supreme Court. Thank you, Sunil Prabhu, for getting us all those details. Let's shift our focus now. 5 persons arrested in connection with forcible eviction of Nepali students from hostels at Odisha's Kalinga Institute of Industrial Technology, or KIIT, have got bail. The arrest came days after protests by Nepali students following the death of Nepali student Prakriti Lamsal.
That's right. She was found dead, Radhika, in her hostel room on the 16th of February, and students claim that she was being harassed by a fellow student. Now, talks took place as far as those protests are concerned. They were protesting at the university, which then led to the authorities to take action, and they, asked the Nepali students to leave. There were also allegations that the students were dropped off at the railway station without any arrangements being made for their travel. We have our colleague Prabhakar joining us to get us more on this. Let's just first get you all the details of what really has happened so far in this case, because all the 5 people, firstly, they were arrested, and Radhika, now, like you mentioned, they have gotten bail. So let's just get you all the details.
Massive protests at Kalinga University in Bhubaneswar on Monday night. Nepali students raising their voice against administration. After a third-year BTech student was found dead in a hostel room. Authorities say the student died by suicide after being harassed by a male student.
हम लोग को पता चला कि उसका कुछ प्रेम संपर्क था उसका और एक दोस्त के साथ जो भी बीटेक पढ़ रहा है, एंड देन उन लोगों का अंदर कुछ डिफरेंस ऑफ ओपिनियन के चलते ये सुसाइड अटेम्प्ट किया है.
The student's father also alleged harassment and emotional blackmail by the batchmate.
Harassment और इमोशनल ब्लैकमेलिंग ऐसा उसने सुसाइड किया है. बस हम लोग को इतना तक ही मालूम है, बाकी कुछ भी मालूम नहीं.
The situation escalated when the college evicted Nepali students from the campus. In a notice, the college said university has been adjourned sine die for international students from Nepal. Around 1,000 Nepali students study at the Kalinga University.
अरे वही कॉलेज से निकाल दिया, बोले जाओ तुम अभी जाओ, कभी आना है पता भी नहीं है, बोले जाओ घर. अभी जबरदस्ती निकाल के भेज दे रहे हैं. हम लोग का नोटिस डायरेक्ट दिया, तुम लोग को अभी कॉलेज खाली करने पड़े 1 घंटा में. हम लोग को घर भेजा दबाने के लिए बात.
A college official can be heard asking Nepali students to leave, even threatening disciplinary action in this viral video.
40,000 बच्चों को आदमी खिला रहा है, पढ़ा रहा है, फ्री में बिठा के. तुम्हारे कंट्री का उतना बजट होगा, उतना बजट
KIIT suspended the staff members involved and issued an official apology.
To apologize for the statements I said on 16th night in the spur of the moment, and I want to communicate that whatever statements I had done, I said are mine and have nothing to do with any of the authority of KIIT University. And if any of my statements has hurted the sentiment of my Nepali students or people of Nepal, I apologize for it sincerely.
As the controversy grew, the university urged students to return and assured them any academic losses would be addressed. The matter took diplomatic dimensions, with Nepalese Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli taking up the issue with India, the Indian embassy in Nepal has also assured a thorough investigation.
There was an allegation that one boy of third year mechanical engineering, he had harassed her, and as a consequence, she had committed suicide. We investigated the matter and there were prima facie evidences. So we arrested the accused, and today he has been forwarded to the judicial custody.
Even with an arrest, the unrest on the campus continues. The issue now goes beyond an alleged suicide. It raises deeper questions. Has the space for student protests in Indian universities shrunk? Is racism still rampant on Indian campuses? Do students from other countries feel safe in India? With Malvika Murli, Bureau Report, NDTV.
And of course, post that protest, there were 5 people who were arrested because they had asked Nepali students to leave the campus. Prabhakar, of course, the authorities made a complete U-turn, asked the Nepali students to come back. But on what grounds has a bail been granted to the 5 who were arrested in the case?
See, we don't have the details of what are the charges which have been pressed against them and on what ground the bail was granted. But yesterday, the arresting happened. The 3 of them were directors and 2 of them were staff members. The staff members who were actually involved in this entire unrest which happened with the Nepali students. So 5 of them, they were taken to the local police station and then they were released on the bail. So they returned back to the campus, and that was confirmed by the Nepali students who are there in the campus. Remember, this entire matter took a big diplomatic turn after the Prime Minister Oli, the Nepalese Prime Minister Oli intervened into this matter, and he directed his embassy at New Delhi to send 2 officials at the Kalinga University and investigating into the matter and kind of be there with the Nepali students who were asked to leave the campus. So the first letter issued by the university was to vacate the campus immediately with immediate effect, and they were asked to go to their respective homes. But after the intervention of the Nepali government, the Prime Minister and the Nepali embassy, a second letter was immediately issued which asked the students to return back, and those who had not left the campus by now, they were asked to stay back and resume the classes, the normal classes. As of now, the 3 of the directors and the 5 of the staff members, they have all been released on bail. We are learning that Nepali students, the students from Nepal, they are returning back as well, and the university is kind of contacting each of them who had actually left to return back to the campus and resume their studies. As far as the investigation in this case is concerned, the officials from the Nepali embassy, they are still parked there. They are in touch with the Odisha government, the local police over there, and the Odisha government has also assured that a proper investigation would be carried out in this. And remember, it's the ministry, the Foreign Affairs Ministry, which is also involved in it after the intervention of the Prime Minister Oli. So the matter has escalated to the next level.
All right, thank you, Prabhakar, for getting us all those details. We'll leave it at that. So 3 of them have been granted a bail post this incident, which is very unfortunate. Moving on now, these are updates from Tamil Nadu as the DMK launched protests against the centre over the new education policy, as the BJP in Tamil Nadu has decided to push for the 3-language policy with a door-to-door campaign, escalating the ongoing row over what the ruling DMK has called the imposition of Hindi. Divya.
Right, Radhika, the campaign, of course, of the BJP will begin for the 1st of March. The BJP has gone on to say that asserting that the DMK's opposition as far as the centre's 3-language policy is concerned, it's a complete violation, a direct violation of the constitutional principles. That is what the BJP is saying. Now, of course, the Education Minister, Dharmendra Pradhan's remarks that states would not be provided with funds until it implements the NEP, the National Education Policy, and adopts its 3-language policy. Let's just go across to our colleague Sam Daniel, who's joining us. Sam, protests took place as far as the DMK is concerned, along with its allies, took to the streets yesterday. Now, this was obviously against that new education policy, but now the BJP plans that signature campaign, which is going to be starting weeks from now.
That's right, Divya and Radhika. It's turning into yet another flashpoint between the ruling DMK and the BJP at the center over the issue of the new education policy, particularly the three-language policy as part of it, which the ruling DMK says it's an attempt to impose Hindi in a tacit way, and the BJP denies. There was a massive protest by the ruling DMK and allies yesterday in Chennai, in which Deputy Chief Minister Udayanidhi Stalin said Tamil Nadu will not hesitate for yet another language war in the state to protect Tamil, as he calls it. Responding to Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan's comments that the centre will not release the 2,500 crore due for Tamil Nadu's Samigra Shiksha program. He says, we are not asking your dad's money, we are asking the taxes paid by parents of the students who this denial of funds will impact. So tempers are certainly running high, and responding to criticism that while other states in India are accepting the three-language policy, why is Tamil Nadu alone seeking exemption? Udayanidhi says there are many northern states which had their own unique mother tongues, but after Hindi was introduced in those states, they are on the verge of losing their own mother tongue. In some states, he says, children are learning their own mother tongue as a second language or third language. We do not want that to happen in Tamil Nadu. On the other hand, now the BJP claims that the ruling DMK is denying the opportunity for students, particularly in government schools across the state, from the opportunity of learning another language. And now they have decided to do a door-to-door survey from March 1, and then to collect reports and then submit that to the president, which they believe would expose the double-speak of the ruling DMK and also the overwhelming response for the three-language policy, which they hope they'll be able to receive when they go door-to-door.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much, Sam. We will keep tracking that story and coming back to you for more on that. Switching tracks now to, the Mahakumbh. It's now West Bengal's Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee who's raised serious concerns about the management of the Kumbh, calling the event Mrityu Kumbh due to what she has gone on to describe as a lack of proper planning. The BJP has lashed out at Mamata Banerjee and stated that she's politicizing Mahakumbh to appease her vote bank, Radhika. That's right, Divya. Samajwadi Party President Akhilesh Yadav also taking a jibe at BJP-led government at centre as well as in UP, calling them a double blunder instead of a double-engine government. Let's get you some of the reactions.
মহাকুম্ভ আমি নাইবা বললাম, ওটা এখন মৃত্যু কুম্ভ হয়ে গেছে, মৃত্যু কূপের মতো। আমি মহাকুম্ভকে সম্মান করি, আমি শ্রদ্ধা জানাই, পবিত্র গঙ্গা মাকে আমি সম্মান করি, কিন্তু প্ল্যানিং না করে এত হাইপ তুলে এত লোকের মৃত্যু বললেন 30 জন, কথাটা কি সঠিক? কত ডেড বডি ভাসিয়ে দিয়েছেন নদীতে?
दिया दोनों सरकारें लग गई, उसके बावजूद भी भगदड़ में लोग मर गए, सड़कें जाम रहीं, लोगों को रात दिन गुजारना पड़ा अपनी गाड़ियों में बैठ करके, सड़कें हर तरफ दूसरे स्टेट तक ब्लॉक रहीं, ट्रेनों का जो इंतजाम करना था ट्रेन नहीं पहुंच पाई, पूरी ट्रेन नहीं चलाई, संख्या नहीं चलाई उतनी, भगदड़ मच गई, उसमें भी लोगों की जान चली गई। इस सरकार ने कुंभ के बहाने न जाने कितनों की जान ले ली, क्योंकि उनकी कोई तैयारी नहीं थी। अगर सरकार ने तैयारी की होती, डबल इंजन सरकार, अपने आप को डबल इंजन बोलते हैं, ये डबल इंजन नहीं है, डबल ब्लंडर वाली सरकार है।
Mahakumbh is a very pious, religious, and it's an occasion which has come after 144 years. Let us devote ourselves in celebrating the event. It's a unique event which has drawn the largest human gatherings ever recorded in the human history and unlikely to be broken in the future. So in such occasion, we should not get into the political comments. If you don't believe in the Hindu faith or Mahakumbh, so let it be, but no need to run down and make any kind of comments on that.
We're joined by Ranveer on this. Ranveer, politics playing out over Mahakumbh, opposition attacking BJP over mismanagement, poor arrangements, Mamata's remark, of course, creating a lot of uproar. BJP certainly hitting back, condemning these statements.
Obviously, Mamata Banerjee is trying to hit back at Yogi Adityanath especially, and that's why she said that the Mahakumbh is not Mahakumbh, it's Mrityu Kund. And she was citing the stampede occurred on Mauni Amavasya And Akhilesh Yadav is also attacking along with all the Samajwadi Party. Yesterday we saw Rakas in the UP Assembly. So the opposition is trying to attack the Bharatiya Janata Party, while BJP is saying that the opposition is defaming Hindutva and they are just trying to attack BJP over Mahakumbh. So Mamata Banerjee, she was trying to say that BJP is trying to sell the religion to divide the nation, and that's why she compared Mahakumbh as Mrityu Kund, and this is going to be a big political debate over the ruling party BJP and opposition, because Bharatiya Janata Party is trying to portray that this event is a historic one and more than 55 crore people have taken dip in the holy Sangam. But opposition is just to defame Bharatiya Janata Party, opposition is defaming Sanatan Dharma. So that's why political war of word between opposition and ruling party is going on, and Mamata Banerjee, we can say one of the biggest faces in opposition, she has compared Mahakumbh as Mrityu Kund, and BJP is obviously going to attack Mamata Banerjee over this remark.
Right, so political tug of war over Mahakumbh playing out for misleading consumers by playing excessive advertisements before movie screenings. In fact, the court found that the multiplex operator failed to display the actual movie start time on tickets.
That's right, instead indicating the commencement time as far as advertisements, leading to that inconvenience as far as patrons are concerned. So as a result, PVR and INOX have been ordered to deposit 1 lakh into the Consumer Welfare Fund, compensating the complainant with 20,000 for mental distress and inconvenience cover of 8,000 in litigation costs. Of course, this really was something that the Bengaluru 30-year-old who really highlighted that, there were half an hour of ads that played out. The movie was supposed to play at 4 o'clock, but ended up starting at 4:30. He was meant to go back home, go back to work instead of going back home, but he couldn't do that because, he ended up wasting a lot of time watching ads, and that is something which is a huge problem, Radhika, and that is something that we all face. And to know more on this, we have Nihal joining us. Nihal, the Consumer Court asserted that time is money and thus directing PVR and INOX to compensate the man. But this truly is an issue that needs to be addressed because, it's not just the start of the movie in which they play ads for half an hour, but also during the interval.
The court was clear in its order that no one has the right to gain benefit out of others' time and money, stressing that 25 to 30 is not less to sit, 25 to 30 minutes is not less to sit idle in the theater and watch whatever the theater telecasts, but the multiplex had its own defense and said that it is obligated under the law to screen certain public services announcements to spread awareness. But the court said that there is a time period stipulated for this and they must stick to it, and that is why the complainant had won this case at least in the Consumer Court, and the court has ordered to pay approximately 65,000 rupees in various forms to the complainant and 1 lakh rupees asked to pay within 30 days to Consumer Welfare Fund. So all 1,65,000 rupees have to be paid within 30 days as per the Consumer Court order. It's very important to see that most of the time when we go to watch movies, they hardly stick to time, and almost everywhere you are supposed to watch those elements, those things that you are not supposed to. Audience goes there to watch a movie, and there if you are asked to watch some trailers of movies and some other stuff, advertisement one after another. So that is why it is one of the landmark decisions of the Consumer Court, and it is expected that hopefully this will bring some changes. The way the movies are shown and the time is wasted in most of the multiplexes and other theaters as well.
Right, and Nihal, also one of the reasons why moviegoers are opting to watch the films on OTT platforms, which don't really take very long before they are shown on Netflix or other such OTT platforms. Thank you so much for joining us. Moving on, a Sevens football match turned deadly on Tuesday night after Chinese crackers misfired into the gallery, injuring at least 30 spectators near the Malappuram district. This incident took place just before the match when fireworks were used. The fireworks misfired literally and fell amongst the spectators, and Radhika, it was 30 of them who got injured, and visuals showing you of what really happened yesterday during that final match.
That's right, very shocking. 3 fans have reportedly suffered severe burns and are undergoing treatment in a private hospital in Malappuram. According to Circle Inspector, the incident occurring when fireworks were set off in the middle of the field. However, due to misfire, the crackers shot into the crowded stands, sparking chaos and injuring several of them. All right, with that, we'll slip into a short break. More news and updates coming up on the other side.
Right, of course, we will get to the latest, and that is the Champions Trophy that's going to be starting off in Pakistan at 2:30 this afternoon. That and a whole lot more on the other side.
From interesting tech startups to industry-leading companies, politics, sports, culture, curry, cricket. Oh, there's so much to talk about. Like me, if you too thrive on interesting conversations, this is a show you cannot miss. Watch this space to know more about all matters and all people that make Britain what it is today. Out of Britain, with me, Radhika Iyer.
In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions, and the stories of our diaspora. We cover the news that shapes our global future. NDTV World, your new home for global news, is here.
From tech titan to global philanthropist, Bill Gates has had a huge impact on the lives of millions across the world. As the co-founder of Microsoft, he's in a sense defined what personal computing has been for all of us. The vision that he had of the personal computer way back in the 70s and its evolution and the transformation of Microsoft has been fundamental in terms of tech, in terms of IT, in terms of the entire sector. And it's time now for Mr. Gates to pen his thoughts down, which is why he's come out with this. This is the first of 3 books. It's called Source Code, My Beginnings, and it's my great privilege to be over here in Palm Springs, in California, to speak about this. Thank you, and I'm delighted to be over here, fly all the way across the world.
Welcome back. Let's get you sports news now, and the Champions Trophy season will kickstart today in Pakistan, and it is Pakistan that's going to be taking on New Zealand, and that match coming up at 2:30 this afternoon, Radhika.
Absolutely, and in the meantime, Team India preparing in full swing. Their preparations are in full swing to face Bangladesh tomorrow, and here's a special report from NDTV's Sejal Gupta.
After 8 long years, the coveted ICC Champions Trophy will kick off this afternoon, where top 8 teams of the world, including Afghanistan, Australia, Bangladesh, England, India, New Zealand, Pakistan and South Africa will square off to receive the white jacket. Even though Pakistan are the original host, matches involving India, including a semi-final, will be played in Dubai. The tournament will kickstart with the hosts, who are also the defending champions, that is Pakistan, who will be taking on New Zealand at the National Stadium in Karachi today. And in a major blow to the Kiwis, they have lost their most experienced fast bowler to injury, with Lockie Ferguson ruled out of the Champions Trophy. Kyle Jamieson has taken Ferguson's place in the 15-member squad. As for the Kiwis, Matt Henry is the only senior seamer left standing in the squad. Talking about Pakistan, all eyes will be on Babar Azam and Mohammad Rizwan to lead the side, with hopes that the 50-over format will help them find their rhythm after a rough patch in recent form. Meanwhile, India will face Bangladesh tomorrow in Dubai. Preparations are in full swing at the Team India camp. Fans will hope that Captain Sharma and Virat Kohli have a great outing at this edition of the Champions Trophy and silence their critics. Remember, Team India enters the competition as a top contender, boasting a well-balanced squad featuring stalwarts like Virat Kohli, Shubman Gill and Shreyas Iyer, along with a formidable all-round unit. A key strength of this Indian side is its depth with Hardik Pandya, Ravindra Jadeja, Akshar Patel and Washington Sundar providing stability in both batting and bowling. The inclusion of Harshit Rana and Varun Chakravarti adds to their bowling attack. However, Jasprit Bumrah's absence is likely to hurt India. Despite challenges, India will be eager to clinch their third Champions Trophy title, and the most important and awaited match of the tournament, India vs Pakistan, will be held on February 23rd and in Dubai.
Shifting our focus to Mumbai now, Mumbai's Maidans or cricket grounds like Shivaji Park and Azad Maidan represent the rich cricket culture in the city, but unfortunately the same grounds they are losing their essence and the footfall continues to fall.
That's right. This is because of the growing unregulated infrastructure work in Mumbai and a lack of coordination with the locals to find a viable solution. Here's a special report on the story. This is a very sorry state as far as the iconic cricket grounds of Mumbai are concerned. Let's go across to our colleague Anuj, who has all the details.
These iconic Mumbai Maidans that nurtured generations of cricketers are shrinking under the burden of pollution and fast-paced development. Shivaji Park, the ground where Sachin Tendulkar's cricket journey began, saw this red soil being laid in 2021 in the name of beautification. 4 years on, it has not been removed despite multiple protests by residents, who say it's adding to the pollution in the area, posing a problem for budding cricketers and residents alike.
In 2021, the red soil was dumped here, almost on record, which is like 400 trucks, which was dumped over here and under the name of beautification. Now, after that, the beautification failed for whatever reasons, and then almost like 5 years, there is a lot of dust storms which come over here. You can see, in fact, there is on the leaves, in fact, on the buildings also. So the main issue is that the dust enters our lungs, and it's like PM 2.5 and PM 10 particulate, which is very harmful to our lungs.
While the Maharashtra Pollution Control Board has assured that a grass cover will be laid at Shivaji Park, locals are not convinced and say the red soil should be removed on priority.
It is affecting each and every player, and not to mention the residents who are continuously finding this red soil coming into their homes. But if that coaching is on to all the small kids from right from 7-8 years up to teens, everybody is suffering because of this problem. They are breathing this red soil, and it is surely affecting their health in terms of congestion, sore throat, maybe cold, cough, I don't know what else.
Azad Maidan is one of the oldest cricket grounds in the city, but continuous metro work in the area since 2016 has shrunk the size of the ground and reduced the number of pitches available for clubs.
The metro work started in the year of 2016. With the assurance it will be over by 23 or 24. The metro is required to the city, that's okay. We are also agreed. But in the South Mumbai or in Mumbai, there are very few grounds, very limited grounds available for the sports fraternity, especially cricket. And with this, all the wickets are spoiled and all the clubs are worried how to nurse, how to guide their children in the future time.
The MMRCL, a government body which manages metro in Mumbai, has assured that the original condition of the ground will be restored before the end of this year.
We'll restore the area, we'll restore the pitches. We intend to finish all these works, aligning with the commissioning of the line. So July 2025, we intend to commission that portion, and immediately follow will restore the area.
Pollution at Shivaji Park and the ongoing construction work at Azad Maidan have become major concerns for players and residents at these two iconic grounds. While on one hand, the city and the state government authorities are pushing for larger infrastructural projects, on the other hand, the local residents are complaining about lack of coordination with the local residents while doing the same. With camera person Sunil Kankriyal and Arvind More, this is Anuj Rai reporting for NDTV from Mumbai.
Let's get you some international news now. And US President Donald Trump has defended the Department of Government Efficiency's decision to cancel a $21 million fund designated for voter turnout in India. Radhika.
That's right. Trump said that India, with its growing economy and high taxation rates, did not need much financial support. Trump also saying, why are we giving USD 21 million to India? They have a lot more money. They are one of the highest taxing countries in the world. Let's listen in to what Donald Trump had to say.
Well, why are we giving $21 million to India? They got a lot of money. They're one of the highest taxing countries in the world in terms of us. We can hardly get in there because their tariffs are so high. I have a lot of respect for India. I have a lot of respect for the Prime Minister. He just left, as you know, 2 days ago. But we're giving $21 million for voter turnout. It's voter turnout in India. What about, like, voter turnout here? Oh, we've done that, I guess. We did 500 million, didn't we? It's called the lockboxes.
Shifting focus, President Donald Trump suggested on Tuesday that Ukraine was responsible for Russia's invasion of the country 3 years ago, arguing Kyiv could have made a deal to avoid the conflict.
Right. In fact, gone on to say you should have never started it. You could have made a deal. That's what Trump said of Ukraine while criticizing President Zelensky. Trump did mention that Russia has also failed to end the war, but it began when it invaded its neighbor. Let's just listen in to Trump first.
And I think I have the power to end this war. And I think it's going very well. But today I heard, oh, well, we weren't invited. Well, you've been there for 3 years. You should have ended it 3 years. You should have never started it. You could have made a deal. I could have made a deal for Ukraine that would have given them almost all of the land, everything, almost all of the land, and no people would have been killed, and no city would have been demolished, and not one dome would have been knocked down. But they chose not to do it that way. And President Biden, in all fairness, he doesn't have a clue. What he was so bad for this. He was so bad, so pathetic. It's so sad.
And we have my colleague Vishal joining us to get us more on this. Vishal, we just heard Donald Trump, blame Ukraine for the war, say that Zelensky didn't really do what he needed to do at the time, and that, so many lives would have been saved. But he's also gone on to laud Russia, saying that Russia wants to do something. They want to stop the savage barbarism, the barbarianism that, has been going on for 3 years now. So, of course, this really comes on the heels of that meeting that took place between the US authorities and, of course, the Russian authorities. But, of course, Ukraine, they're crying foul and saying that they weren't invited to the table.
Yeah, so these statements are quite conflicting in the sense that it's quite clear that it was Russia that had invaded Ukraine, but in this instance, Trump had gone on to say that it's Ukraine that is to blame. So these statements have shocked the international community. A lot of leaders across the world have commented on it already, and it's sort of inaccurate as well because it was, as I mentioned, Russia that had gone into that special operations zone and invaded Ukraine 3 years ago, almost 3 years ago. But Trump squarely blaming Zelensky and Ukraine for this war, that is quite surprising and shocking to the community, and it will have to be seen how Trump now moves forward because as you mentioned, there was a US-Russia peace talks yesterday to start the negotiations for the end of the war, but what direction that takes, that remains to be seen because Russia can't be going scot-free on this because it is to blame for the war mostly, and Ukraine has to have a seat on the table. So these things will come up when the further meetings happen, when the teams are made that were announced yesterday.
All right, thank you, Vishal, for getting us all those details. Conflicting statements, certainly. Trump there blaming Ukraine for the war, which is shocking, certainly. Let's move on now. Divya, top Russian and US diplomats held a meeting in Saudi Arabia today with an aim to find an agreement to end the years-long war in Ukraine without the latter.
That's right, 3 years, of course, Radhika, on the 24th of this month would complete 3 years of that war that started. And of course, a valid point that Trump is making that, many lives were lost and this could have been avoided had they reached a deal. Now, this is something that Trump said right after that meeting that lasted for about 4.5 hours. Both sides agreed to consider others' interests. But of course, Zelensky is saying that nothing can be considered and no negotiations can go on without the key party, that's Kiev, being involved.
Less than a month after Donald Trump took office and just 6 days after his call with Russian President Putin, top U.S. and Russian officials wrapped up over 4 hours of talks in Riyadh on the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. The talks came as Kyiv and its European allies were sidelined and as Moscow introduced a significant new demand. The high-level talks, which were attended by U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, aimed at strengthening ties and finding a resolution to the almost 3-year-long war. Rubio said that both parties agreed to restaff their respective embassies in Washington and Moscow and appoint high-level teams to continue negotiations. He also called the meeting the first step of a long and difficult journey, further adding that in order to bring an end to any conflict, there has to be concessions made by all sides.
For us to be able to continue to move down this road, we need to have diplomatic facilities that are operating and functioning normally. The second point is that we're going to appoint a high-level team from our end to help negotiate and work through the end of the conflict in Ukraine in a way that's enduring and acceptable to all the parties engaged.
Meanwhile, Lavrov called the talks very useful, adding that the two sides did not just listen, but heard each other.
Разговор был, я считаю, очень полезный. Мы не просто слушали, но и слышали друг друга. И у меня есть основания полагать, что американская сторона стала лучше понимать нашу позицию, которую мы на основе многократных выступлений президента Путина подробно на конкретных примерах изложили в очередной раз.
The talks came just as Russia announced a major new demand for NATO to scrap its 2008 promise to one day give Ukraine membership and for Kyiv to agree to neutrality. However, the Kremlin also said that Ukraine has a sovereign right to join the European Union, but that this sovereignty does not apply to military alliances. Conditions were discussed for a potential Trump-Putin meet, but no date has been set yet. Ukraine's absence from the negotiating table has sparked concerns in Kyiv and among European allies. Ukrainian President Zelensky has said that any outcomes from talks without Kyiv's involvement would be unacceptable. Samia Afsar, NDTV World.
Я переконаний, для України, для нашого регіону і для Європи принципово, щоб будь-які перемовини щодо закінчення війни відбувались не за спиною у ключових суб'єктів, яких зачіпають наслідки російської агресії.
U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio met with Sergei Lavrov, the Russian foreign minister, for several hours in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia on Tuesday. This is the most extensive contact between the two countries in 3 years' time. And afterwards, Rubio releasing a statement that says in part that Washington and Moscow are working towards, number one, closer cooperation and a restoration of their embassy staffs in their respective capitals, and number two, to create a high-level team to negotiate an end to the Ukraine war. In an interview that he gave to the Associated Press, he says that ending the conflict will require concessions from all sides, and he does see a role for Europe to play. He also said in that interview that this is the beginning of a conversation. It is also a conversation that needs to continue. Other U.S. officials, meantime, have said that NATO membership is really a long reach for the Ukraine to expect. It's unrealistic, and that the hope of completely returning all of the territory that Russia has gained is also unrealistic. They say that discussion of territory and security guarantees, though, will be a part of these ongoing talks. Now, Ukraine was not even present for these talks. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says that he will not accept any outcome because he was not a part of these talks, and he wants, quote, robust and reliable security guarantees. He further canceled his meeting to Riyadh to meet with Keith Kellogg, the U.S. envoy to Ukraine. Europe also concerned about all of this taking place. On Monday, they held an emergency meeting in Paris where there was no agreement yet on deploying peacekeepers to Ukraine as part of any security deal. Jessica Stone, VOA News, Washington.
Moving on, Lord Mayor of London, Alistair King, was in Mumbai to strengthen UK-India trade and financial ties. As UK's global ambassador for financial, legal and maritime services, he engaged with several key business leaders and policymakers in the city of Mumbai.
Right, of course, Radhika, he shared insights on investment opportunities and India's evolving business environment. He also highlighted London's role in India's growth story and the strong desire for deeper collaboration between the two nations. Listen into this interview with Radhika.
Hello everyone, welcome to the special interview session. I have a special guest with me, Lord Mayor of London, Alistair King. In fact, he is in Mumbai to strengthen Indo-UK relationship, and he will also tell us how he plans to sort of collaborate with us even better in the years to come. Thank you, Mr. King, Lord Mayor of London, for joining us on this important discussion. Let me start by asking you how your trip to Mumbai has been. This is not your first trip to Mumbai. You've worked here before for several years. You have been meeting thought leaders, financial industries, several from business sector as well. Take us through your meetings here and what your key takeaways from these meetings have been.
Well, first of all, it's lovely to be back in Mumbai. It's a city that I really like, and marvellous electricity and energy to it, which is so fabulous to be back. The Lord Mayor of London is a remarkable role. The Lord Mayor is the global ambassador for the United Kingdom's financial, professional, legal and maritime services. Represent 2.4 million people in the United Kingdom, which is 1 in 13 of the workforce, and responsible for about 14% of GDP. So it's a very substantial sector of the UK economy. I've had a remarkable few days here in Mumbai. I've been meeting business leaders, of the very top business leaders. I've been meeting the head of the stock exchange, of SEBI, of the Reserve Bank of India. And I think really my job has been to try and talk about where are the opportunities that are for British businesses trying to do business here, more business here in India, and also where are the opportunities for Indian businesses to invest into the United Kingdom.
All right. Also, the UK-India trading relationship is valued at £41 billion annually, approximately. So in light of recent global, trade tensions, how do you sort of envision the partnership between India and UK sort of evolving? And what are the strategies to sort of mitigate some of the challenges as well? What are some of the strategies to enhance financial cooperation and collaboration between the two countries?
I think there are enormous opportunities to grow the relationship, financial relationship between India and the United Kingdom. We have remarkably sort of strong links between the two countries. We've also have some great examples of investment both ways, from India into the United Kingdom and also United Kingdom into India. We've got some very famous companies doing that, and many examples of that. But I think we certainly, from the United Kingdom point of view, we've been a little bit less adventurous in relation to going to remarkable developing and high growth markets such as India. And I think part of my role is to encourage British businesses to go and look at the extraordinary opportunity here in India, growing at 6.5%, and just saying, here are the opportunities, go and take them.
And I'd like to know more about your Growth Unleashed mayoral theme. What does it entail? I mean, it's obviously about mutual investment. So what initiatives are being introduced for perhaps UK businesses to invest in India? How are you planning to encourage more UK businesses to invest in India, and vice versa, for Indian businesses to sort of see UK as a market? So take us through this entire initiative, which is Growth Unleashed.
The premise is the fact that financial and professional services, legal services and maritime services, that's where the growth is going to come from in the United Kingdom in the early years of this new government. Because the building's already built, the people are already trained, the regulatory system is not perfect, but it's world class. The missing ingredient is confidence, and so I'm trying to instill confidence into British businesses to go off to remarkable dynamic markets such as India. So what measures can I do to install more confidence? It's by leading by example, to go and see some of the remarkable business people here in India and try and work out new ways of doing business together. And I think also seeing those businesses talking about the foreign direct investment opportunities into the United Kingdom. So it's a two-way process.
From interesting tech startups to industry-leading companies, politics, sports, culture, curry, cricket. Oh, there's so much to talk about. Like me, if you too thrive on interesting conversations, this is a show you cannot miss. Watch this space to know more about all matters and all people that make Britain what it is today. Out of Britain, with me, Radhika Iyer.
In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions, and the stories of our diaspora. We cover the news that shapes our global future. NDTV World, your new home for global news, is here.
From interesting tech startups to industry-leading companies, politics, sports, culture, curry, cricket. Oh, there's so much to talk about. Like me, if you too thrive on interesting conversations, this is a show you cannot miss. Watch this space to know more about all matters and all people that make Britain what it is today. Out of Britain, with me, Radhika Iyer.
This is NDTV, and you're watching NDTV 24/7.
Good morning, you're watching NDTV 24/7. I'm Divya Vadva joining you from Delhi, and we have Radhika Ramaswamy joining us from Mumbai. Well, another ragging incident is being reported from the state of Kerala that has led to 7 arrests. And also we have the announcement of the Chief Minister of Delhi coming up just ahead of the government formation, Radhika, that's going to be taking place at 11 a.m. tomorrow here in the national capital.
That's right. Also, Consumer Court asking PVR Inox to pay 1 lakh to a Bengaluru man over excessive ads. US and Russia holding talks over ending war in Ukraine. Trump blaming Ukraine for the war as well. We have tons lined up. But first, the headlines. Day of Delhi Chief Minister announcement. BJP Legislative Party meeting today. So finally, the suspense over a Delhi Chief Minister name could end.
Another ragging horror case resurfaces in Kerala. 7 students have been involved in this brutal assault against a student. And this at a time when, of course, those 7 people have, in fact, been taken into custody. But it's the Kerala minister who has gone on to talk about anti-ragging cells which will be formed soon.
And amid a CEC controversy, SC to hear plea on appointment, Gyanesh Kumar was appointed as the next Chief Election Commissioner amid resistance from the main opposition party, the Congress.
And as far as the Odisha University death case is concerned, there were 5 people who were taken into arrest. Now all those 5 people have been granted bail.
And excessive movie ads cost rupees 1 lakh fine to PVR and Inox. Court asks PVR and Inox to pay up rupees 1 lakh over excessive ads to a Bengaluru man.
And the Champions Trophy begins today in Pakistan. Pakistan will be taking off New Zealand. That match starts at 2:30 this afternoon.
US and Russian officials held more than 4 hours of talks in Riyadh on Tuesday. The first on ending war in Ukraine, as Kyiv and its European allies watched anxiously from sidelines, and Moscow raised a major new demand. First up, news from national capital. Nearly 2 weeks after BJP secured victory in Delhi Assembly elections, Divya CM's name yet to be announced. Perhaps the suspense will end today. The newly elected BJP MLAs in Delhi will meet to elect the legislative party leader, who will be taking oath as the Chief Minister on February 20th.
That's right, Radhika. Tomorrow at 11 o'clock in the morning is when Delhi will have its new Chief Minister. Of course, this is going to be a grand event considering that the BJP is coming back into power in the national capital after a gap of 27 years. The newly appointed Chief Minister and the Council of Ministers are set to be sworn in at the Ramlila Maidan. This is going to be a grand event. Of course, this will include the Prime Minister, the Home Minister, several top leaders, and of course 20 Chief Ministers and Deputy Chief Ministers of the BJP-led states. We're also talking about industrialists, film stars, 50 film stars expected. We're talking about performances and of course also security to the tune of 5,000 security personnel who will be deployed at the Ramlila ground as well. We have Tanushka joining us from the BJP office. We also have Aishwarya Jain joining us from the BJP headquarters. Aishwarya, over to you first. Take us through, highlight for us the names that are doing the rounds. Has that list been narrowed down slightly, or there are a lot of names in the fray?
Well, BJP is known for throwing surprises, and that's what we are expecting in national capital as well. Of course, there are several rounds that are doing the rounds as far as Parvesh Verma, the heavyweight who defeated Arvind Kejriwal from New Delhi constituency, Mr. Ashish Sood, Rekha Gupta, Vijinder Gupta, who is a third-time MLA and knows about the Delhi politics very well. So these are few names which are, of course, doing their rounds, but it will all come down to the legislative party meeting, which will be held at the BJP state headquarters this evening. Let me show you a glimpse of what's has been done as far as preparations at the state headquarters for the legislative party meeting. That's the big poster that has been placed over here just outside the BJP state headquarters. भाजपा विधायक दल की बैठक में सभी नवनिर्वाचित विधायकों का हार्दिक अभिनंदन, and the entire headquarters of the Delhi BJP has been decked up with grand posters of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, BJP President JP Nadda, and flags of Bharatiya Janata Party also clearly can be seen all around this state headquarters for the all-important BJP legislative party meeting, which will be held at the state headquarters at Pandit Marg at around 6:30 to 7, where we'll get to know about the name of the next Chief Minister of Delhi. Of course, the Bharatiya Janata Party had done several promises and it would be a tough task for them as well to achieve those promises. The fulfillment of those promises are very important. It is, of course, in Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Rajasthan, we have seen Bharatiya Janata Party throwing surprises as far as the names of the Chief Minister is concerned, but it will all be decided in the evening meeting, which will be held over here, where all the key leaders will also be arriving, apart from the newly elected MLAs. But tomorrow at 11 a.m. at Ramlila Maidan would be a grand affair as far as the oath-taking ceremony, in which almost 50,000 plus people had been invited, apart from the deputy CMs and CMs from the NDA-led states.
Right, about the oath-taking ceremony, I'll take that question to Tanushka. Tanushka, even as suspense is not ended, huge preparations for the oath-taking ceremony. It will be held in a grand scale, something similar to what we saw in Mumbai when the NDA took over. We had celebs, who's who in attendance. So is that what can be expected as the oath-taking ceremony takes place tomorrow?
Well, precisely, Radhika, this is going to be a grand affair in the national capital tomorrow. As remember, the Bharatiya Janata Party returns to the capital, to Delhi, after almost around 27 years. So it is going to be huge. There are going to be invitees of, from different walks of life and sectors. Diplomats have been invited. People who, are spiritual leaders, religious leaders have also been invited. There are more than 50 invitees from the film industry as well. We are, of course, expecting the members of parliament from the BJP to be at the oath-taking ceremony, which is to happen at Ramlila Maidan tomorrow at around 11 a.m., which is where not just the Chief Minister, but the Council of Ministers will also be sworn in. What we're also hearing is that this grand ceremony will also have invited personalities from the slum dwelling, vote bank of the Bharatiya Janata Party. Remember that this was a crucial vote bank for the BJP this time round. And we also hear that a lot of film personalities will also be coming in. There will be cultural programs. Singer Kailash Kher will also be performing. Farmers from Delhi around. Remember, farmers' issues has been very sensitive with respect to the capital as well. So farmers have also been invited to this, and general public will also be open to this oath-taking ceremony, as the Ram Leela Maidan can house and hold around 50,000 people at once. So a lot of arrangements have been made. Senior leaders of the BJP, Tarun Chugh, and Delhi State Unit President Virendra Sachdev also went yesterday at the ground to look over and oversee these measures and arrangements that are underway for this grand oath-taking ceremony, all set to happen at around 11 a.m. tomorrow morning.
All right, thank you, Tanushka and Aishwarya, for getting us those details. Let's move on now. New Chief Election Commissioner, newly appointed CEC, takes charge at this point. Gyanesh Kumar assumes CEC office. Those are the visuals there of Gyanesh Kumar taking over as the new CEC. Of course, there were a lot of controversies surrounding his appointment, Divya. In fact, yesterday, Rahul Gandhi had expressed strong dissent regarding the appointment of Gyanesh Kumar as the new Chief Election Commissioner. He had criticized the centre's decision to remove Chief Justice of India from the selection committee as well. And now today, an important hearing in the Supreme Court. In fact, Supreme Court agreeing to consider an expedited hearing of a clutch of petitions challenging the validity of new law which provides for the appointment of CEC as well as EC. So even amid the controversy, now new CEC Gyanesh Kumar has taken charge.
This is almost a year after he was appointed as the election commissioner. Gyanesh Kumar has been elevated to that position. Of course, this decision was taken place on Monday night, and like you did point out that Rahul Gandhi did oppose that decision. But the appointment was announced after that meeting that was chaired by the Prime Minister in the presence of Rahul Gandhi and of course the Home Minister, selecting the new CEC to succeed Rajiv Kumar, whose term of course did come to an end yesterday. And that meeting of course saw the leader of opposition in Rahul Gandhi asking the government to defer the appointment until the Supreme Court decides on the petitions challenging the new appointment process. And of course, coincidentally, that is also coming up in the Supreme Court today. So of course, he is the 26th Chief Election Commissioner of India, the CEC. This is a day when the Supreme Court is scheduled to hear that petition challenging the law under which he was appointed as a CEC by that three-member panel led by the Prime Minister. So there you can see visuals of the CEC, the new CEC. He has succeeded Rajiv Kumar, whose term came to an end. So we have the new CEC there, Gyanesh Kumar taking charge of his role as the new CEC. So Gyanesh Kumar there has been appointed as the new CEC. We have this really comes on the day when the Supreme Court, of course, is going to be challenging that decision. Let's just talk about the new CEC, Radhika. And